It was our 5th year together when Jason Smith brought his newly divorced and pregnant first love back home. I'd had enough. Jason, it's either her or me. He chose her. I became a complete joke. Fine, then, I didn't want the baby either. But he teared up, dropped to his knees beside the bed, and for the first time ever, called me by my nickname. Isabel, can we please try again? Just you and me. Latina Mera got divorced. Bang. The moment I heard the news, I dropped my glass. Red wine and glass shards splattered all over me. I instinctively looked at Jason. Normally, he would have rushed over, dropped everything, and checked if I was hurt. "It's okay. I'm here. Go rest," he'd usually say. But this time, "Okay, I'll be right there." He hung up the phone and rushed out, without so much as a glance in my direction. The people in the living room exchanged awkward looks. I stood there among the mess, utterly humiliated. The birthday cake on the table was untouched. Wearing a diamond tiara, I now looked like a clown. Only my best friend Julia Morgan gave me a sympathetic look. The rest? Pity, indifference, even mockery. They say a man's friends treat you how he treats you. Well, these were Jason's friends, and Jason never truly loved me. To them, Latina was the real deal. Now she was divorced, and they were thrilled. It was time for the side character Meadow bow out. "Isabel? Isabel!" I blinked and looked at Julia. She stared at me, concerned. "You okay?" I glanced around. Jason's friends were gone. It was just me and Julia now, alone in the big house. I forced a smile. "I'm fine." Julia hesitated, clearly wanting to say something, probably to reassure me that Jason must have had an emergency. But even she didn't believe that excuse, so she kept quiet. After Julia left, I waited for Jason all night in the living room. I called him dozens of times, no answer. The birthday cake sat there, stale and sickly sweet. Still, I forced down a few bites. I had made a wish on that cake, to be with Jason forever. But that wish was dead, because the next day, Jason brought Latina home. Isabel Lopez. Latina's pregnant. He stood protectively beside her, gentle and attentive. Her belly was just beginning to show. She looked calm, kind. They exchanged a smile like, I was the outsider now. I felt nauseous. What's that got to do with me? Latina's eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry, Isabel. I didn't mean to come between you two. I have nowhere else to go." Jason looked worn out, his face full of sympathy. He shielded her behind him. "She's divorced. Her family won't take her in. I'm the only friend she has left. I have to help." His expression was so vivid. I'd never seen those usually cold eyes show so much emotion. "That your baby?" I sneered. Jason looked appalled. "What the hell are you talking about?" Latina looked equally stunned. "You've got it all wrong." I ignored her. I stared Jason down. "You're not going to explain?" "Explain what?" "Yesterday was my birthday. You left me alone all night for some woman who means nothing to you." I forced myself to stay calm. "Don't you think you owe me an explanation?" "Latina's not just some woman," Jason said, meeting my gaze. And that was his answer. She wasn't a stranger. She was his one that got away. Jason and I had been together since college. I was the one who pursued him. We first met on the bus ride back to campus. He was sitting in front of me, earbuds in, staring out the window. The sunlight caught the sharp lines of his profile. He looked like a glowing work of art. When we got off, I realized he went to my school, too. As he approached the dorms, I called out, "Hey, mind if we exchange contacts?" That was the first time I ever made the first move. Later, I learned Jason was the golden boy of his department. Handsome, tall, smartest scholarship magnet, and captain of the basketball team. Girls were all over him. But fortune favors the bold. I brought him breakfast before early classes. I stood in the scorching sun, handing him water and his shirt after basketball practice. On holidays, I gave him flowers and gifts, and after 2 months of chasing, we got together. Even when we were dating, Jason was distant. Sometimes I'd talk for 10 minutes, and he'd respond with a single, But he never took out his bad moods on me, and he always treated me well, so I truly believed he liked me. Then we attended a wedding. I asked, should we do a Western or Chinese ceremony for ours? He didn't answer. He just stared blankly at the bride on stage. I followed his gaze and saw the bride. That night, Jason got blackout drunk. I'd never seen him like that. He vomited everywhere, muttering, Latina, Latina. My nickname is Belle, but he's always called me Isabel. It hurts. Where? I asked, anxiously. He clutched his chest, eyes wounded. Here. It hurts. That's when I realized Latina was his white moonlight, and suddenly I understood the strange looks his friends always gave me. I was the woman he settled for. But I didn't break up with him. They say no one can replace a man's white moonlight, not even the woman herself. I believed that, so I didn't compete. I didn't need to win. All I wanted was love, even if it was just a fraction. After that night, I pretended nothing happened. We graduated, worked hard, built a life together. We even made a home. But the girl who once told Julia, I'm just waiting for the right time, had changed. I couldn't say that with confidence anymore. During those years with Jason, every time Latina called, said one word, Ching Feng, he'd drop everything and run. She was a tiny fishbone lodged in our love, not fatal, but unbearable. Now that she was divorced, that bone had become a ticking bomb. White moonlights are deadly. The moment she reappeared, 5 years of love crumbled like a sandcastle in a wave. I packed my things and moved out. That home, I had decorated it with so much care. It was our nest. But now, Jason wanted his white moonlight to live there. I went back once, the moment I walked in. I saw Jason feeding Latina medicine. She noticed me first and sat up. Isabel, you're back. Only then did Jason look up. Without guilt, he set down the bowl and asked, Where have you been? I ignored him and headed for the master bedroom. The room looked completely different. Soft green bedding, potted plants on the balcony. I remembered how I'd begged Jason to plant flowers, and he'd refused. But in just a few days, everything had changed. And suddenly, I knew love. Or the lack of it is painfully obvious. Latina held her waist and walked in. I'm sorry, Isabel, for intruding. Jason draped a coat over her shoulders. Don't be polite with us. Then he turned to me. Our room's the guest bedroom now. I walked past them into the next room. Behind me, I heard Jason whisper to Latina, Get some rest. I'll call you when dinner's ready. In 5 years, I'd never once tasted Jason's cooking, so he did know how to cook after all. I curled my lips in a bitter smile and started searching for my documents. Jason came in. Isabel, where have you been all this time? Making space for you two. I found what I needed and kept walking. As I passed him, he grabbed my arm. His eyes were sharp, voice low with frustration. What the hell is your problem? Let go of me, I shouted, yanking myself free. The thought of those hands holding Latina, feeding her medicine, made my skin crawl. The more I struggled, the harder he gripped. His hand clamped around my arm like an iron vice. Tears welled up from the pain, and I started kicking his shins. "Shit!" he hissed in pain, but didn't let go. He twisted my wrists behind my back and leaned in. His burning lips brushed my cheek, then found my mouth. Jason closed his eyes and wrapped his arms around me. His tongue pushed past my teeth. I clenched my jaw and shoved him away. "What's wrong?" His black eyes locked onto mine, voice husky. He kept pulling me into his arms. I remembered how he used to act vulnerable like this, and I softened. 5 years. I was the one who'd stayed. So what if she was the white moonlight? Then a question came to mind. What's worse, emotional betrayal or physical? After 5 years of giving him everything, I chose the former. I softened my voice. "Let Latina move out. We can rent a place for her. She can't live alone. Don't be so petty, okay?" The hunger in his eyes turned into irritation. "Ching Feng," Latina called for him again. "Jason, it's me or her. Choose." I threw down the ultimatum, watching him nervously. "Isabel, don't push him." Latina's voice trembled, eyes brimming with tears. "You're calling me Isabel now?" I snapped. I had never taken her seriously before. She was married, and Jason wasn't the type to cheat, so I dared to dream. Dream of marrying him one day. But fate had other plans. Latina got divorced, and Jason never forgot her. "This has nothing to do with her. If you're mad, take it out on me." He shielded her again. "I'll ask one last time, who do you choose?" I demanded. "Latina." He didn't even hesitate. Smack! I slapped him, my hand going numb. Countless times in the past 5 years. I thought he loved me, but that one word, Latina, ripped me out of the dream. I was furious at how he played with my heart, heartbroken, that I never truly had his. My pride held me upright as I turned and walked away, but the tears betrayed me. I laughed through them, crying over how badly I'd lost. Life is always messier and more dramatic than any soap opera I found out I was pregnant. And the timing couldn't have been worse. The year Jason and I bought our home. The year we met each other's parents. There had been so many perfect moments for this baby to arrive. But it chose now right after Jason and I broke up. And even though I was torn, a part of me felt secretly happy. Yes, happy. As much as I tried to deny it, I still couldn't stop loving Jason. After all those years together, he was still the person I clung to the most. Setting aside the existence of his first love, everything Jason and I had been through was real: the joy, the pain, all of it. So, after hesitating, I called him. He had the right to know. He was the baby's father. And, more importantly, he'd always loved kids. Back when we used to talk about having children, Jason would grin and say, "Daughters are the best. I'd pluck stars from the sky for her." He'd never said anything like that to me before. I used to feel jealous of this imaginary daughter. But now, as I touched my still, flat belly, I felt like not even a sky full of stars was enough for her. I tried to stay calm and called him, "Jason, I'm pregnant." He let out a tired sigh. "Don't mess around, okay?" Latina's not doing so. Latina again. All he cared about was her. His words poured cold water on any trace of happiness. "You think I'm messing around?" I asked, my voice icy. "We used protection. There's no way you're pregnant." He raised his voice, like he'd had enough. Now it was my turn to go quiet. He didn't even remember what he'd done. That night, he had held me close, slightly tipsy, and said, "Let's have a baby, a little one that looks like you. Let's get married." It was the only time we hadn't used protection. The night breeze stung like ice. Even my teeth felt cold. I forced myself to stay strong. Do you want this baby or not? If not, I'll not. He hung up before I could finish. I stared at my pale face, reflected in the screen. Chills swept through me. Jason had never yelled at me before. The only harsh words he'd ever said were always because of Latina. I slapped him once. Now this, Jason, this is all you. My heart was racing, yet I felt strangely calm. I couldn't keep the baby, and I couldn't keep Jason. I scheduled the earliest abortion appointment I could get. Julia took me to the hospital. You sure about this? Expressionless, I replied. Julia, I can't let my baby be second to Latina too. She sighed, then said nothing more. A few hours later, I came out of surgery. It felt like I'd woken from a dream. My body felt light until the anesthesia wore off and pain gripped my lower abdomen. Julia caught me as I stumbled. I clutched my belly in a daze. Julia! It's gone. Was I too cruel? She paused, then hugged me tightly. Jason's the cruel one. He didn't deserve your love. He should swallow 1,000 needles. I broke down, crying like never before. I remembered when I was a kid, spending hours on a math problem only to get the wrong answer. It felt like the end of the world. Now, I had spent 5 years of youth and love, poured my entire heart into this, only to end up with nothing. This was the wrong answer to the test of life, of love. And there was no chance to correct it. The consequences would come, but the one I felt sorriest for was the child. I failed them. As we walked out of the hospital, we saw Jason helping Latina out of a car. It was Latina who noticed us first. Isabel, what are you doing here? Jason stared at me, confused. My eyes were empty. He was the incorrect variable in my equation, and I hated him. Julia started to march forward, ready to tear into him. I held her back. Julia, I'm tired. She glared at them one last time, then gently led me away. I was pale and unsteady, still holding my stomach. Jason stared at me, unblinking. What happened to you? He asked. Quit the act, Julia snapped. It was exactly what I wanted to say. Stop pretending you don't know. As you wished. The words slipped from my lips, barely audible. And yet, strangely, Jason looked unsettled. He'd always been indifferent to my emotions. Happy or angry, it never fazed him. But now, a single sentence had shaken him. Not that it mattered anymore. Now, between us stood not just Latina but a life. There was no us left. As I walked past him, my heart no longer stirred. Just before I got into the car, I heard him call out, Isabel. Then came Latina's surprised voice, Ching Feng. I didn't look back. The view through the window slipped past in reverse just like my past. All of it behind me now. I took some time off and stayed at Julia's place. Before work, she'd prepare breakfast and lunch for me. Just reheat it, she said. Watching her fumble with online recipes to make chicken soup, my eyes welled up. Oh, come on, don't cry now, she said, stuffing her bag. You've got to rest, okay? You just had a miscarriage. Crying's only gonna make you sicker. I laughed through my tears. You sound like my mom. Well, great. You can be the daughter, I'll be the mom. No more pressure to get married or have kids. I'm running late. Don't forget to heat the soup. Got it. The door closed behind her. My smile faded immediately. I stared blankly at the empty room. Drawn by the sunlight, I wandered to the window. The air was crisp. A few birds chirped outside, jolting me out of my daze. I looked down. Jason was there. The night of my birthday. I had called him nonstop. Last night, it was his turn. He blew up my phone. Ding. A message from Julia. Isabel, Jason's been calling nonstop, asking how you're doing. He's downstairs now. Want to talk to him? Don't be scared. Call me if you need anything. I've got your back. I texted back. Okay. Then sent Jason. Come up. A few minutes later, a knock at the door. Jason's eyes were bloodshot. The first thing he said? The baby? He glanced instinctively at my stomach, then stared at me like he wouldn't leave without an answer. I let out a cold laugh. Wow. Must be nice to forget things so easily. You don't remember what you said? Isabel. He bent down, cupped my face in his hands, and gently brushed my tears with his thumb. Please, just tell me, where's our baby? I looked into his anxious eyes, paused, then couldn't help but laugh. He was scared. Jason was actually scared. Seeing me smile, he seemed relieved. Then he smiled, too really smiled. For the first time, his cold expression melted into joy as he reached out to pull me into his arms. It's dead. The words fell from my lips. He froze. He slowly straightened up, frowning and shaking his head. Isabel, don't say stuff like that. I stared at him in silence. Jason backed up a few steps, like he'd lost his balance. His lips turned pale, opening and closing without a sound. Watching him struggle, I felt a wave of satisfaction, but it wasn't enough. His pain was nothing compared to mine. I twisted my face and screamed, "You killed her! You didn't believe she existed. You didn't want her because you love Latina. Her baby is worth more to you than mine ever was." Jason's face turned deathly pale. His eyes were filled with guilt and pain. But the moment I mentioned Latina, he started defending himself. I don't love her. Don't love her? I laughed bitterly. Right. You don't love her. You're in love with her. She's your precious first love. Your forever regret. You gave up on me, on our baby for her. Then why were you ever with me in the first place? Years of repressed emotions burst free. I admitted I was pathetic. I fell for you first. But I wasn't the other woman. If you didn't love me, you should have told me. Why didn't you just say it? The more I shouted, the harder I cried. I hated that time couldn't go back. That love didn't come with an eraser. I hated Jason for not being the right one. But most of all, I hated myself. Why couldn't I get this right? Last night, I had nightmares all night. I dreamt of a pool of blood that grew a baby's face and asked in a soft voice, "Mommy, why didn't you want me?" I dreamt its hand turned into a giant claw, ripping open my womb. The surgery lights morphed into blazing suns, scorching the blood beneath me until it turned black. In the dried blood, a chubby baby smiled at me, only to be torn apart, screaming in agony. I woke up with my pillow soaked in tears. Jason didn't know any of this. He was busy being with Latina, who was still pregnant. I collapsed to the floor, sobbing so hard I nearly passed out. Jason knelt beside me and pulled me into his arms. His voice trembled. "Isabel, it was the first time today he used my nickname, but it didn't make me happy." I looked up from his warm embrace, grabbed his arm, and bit down. I dug my teeth into flesh and bone, using every ounce of strength. Jason didn't move. He let me do it. Not until I tasted blood did I stop. The bite was deep, almost to the bone. He winced, but held me tighter. "I'm sorry." "Isabel." I closed my eyes, drained of all energy. I wanted to say, "It's too late. We're done." My mind was foggy, drowning in sadness. I didn't even know when Jason carried me inside. When he brought a bowl of soup to the bed, I had already quieted down. "Come on, just have a little." "It'll help." I stared blankly at his calm expression. That's when I saw it clearly. The rationality of a man. Even in the face of lost life, he showed no grief. It reminded me of my dad. Always kind to strangers, but cold to his own family. And now I realized I had become my mother, crying and broken. I smacked the bowl away. Hot soup splashed all over Jason. He didn't flinch, just silently cleaned it up. I stared at him, sniffling. "You're not even a little sad." He paused, then looked up. "Isabel, we're still young. We can have more kids." "Bastard!" I was furious. I kicked him to the floor. Shards of the bowl cut his hand, but he didn't make a sound. He looked up at me. "Hit me, scream at me, just don't get too upset. It's bad for your health." He wiped his hand, then gently held my ankle. "And don't leave me." He stripped away all his pride, played the part of the pitiful man, making me look like the villain. I clenched my teeth and slapped him hard. The crack echoed in the room. His head turned from the force. A red mark bloomed across his cheek. He slowly turned back and smiled. "As long as you're not mad." "Oh, anymore." Smack. I slapped him again before he could finish. Before he could turn around, I kicked him. But he was too solid. My entire strength didn't move him an inch. Instead, I was left panting. Jason grabbed my leg before I could pull it back. He wrapped his hot hands around my bare foot. "Why aren't you wearing socks?" "It's cold." I jerked my foot away. A smear of blood marked my pale skin. I stared at it, trying to steady my breathing. "Don't you feel pathetic, acting like this?" Jason shook his head. "Not when it's you. And Latina? Do you treat her this way too?" The very thought made my stomach turn. Jason's face froze. "I can explain." Seeing I didn't respond, he rushed to speak. "I liked her. Yeah, but that was in high school. We were kids. Latina was beautiful, but not good in school. She didn't get into college, and I gave up the military to stay close. I just wanted to graduate fast, marry her. But she couldn't handle long distance. She said she couldn't wait. After the breakup, I was heartbroken for a long time, until I met you," Jason said, looking at me. "That's when I realized how childish I used to be." "Isabel." Teenage love doesn't mean anything. So it wasn't an unreachable white moonlight, just a lingering first love. "And now?" I asked. Jason met my eyes. "There's no chance with her. I just want her to be okay." He reached out and held my hand. "Come home with me, please. You're still weak. Let me take care of you." "And her?" Jason paused before replying. "Lin Lang took her." Lin Lang, Latina's rich ex-husband. Wait, no. Her likely soon-to-be husband again. I smiled coldly. Ah, the classic redemption arc pathetic. All men are the same. Why do they only learn to cherish you after they've broken you? Late love is cheaper than dirt. I slowly pulled my hand out of Jason's grasp. His eyes reddened immediately. He knelt down, voice low and hoarse. "Isabel, I messed up. Please give me a chance to make things right. Let's start over." "Please." I shook my head calmly. "There's no more us, Jason. Anyone who tramples on love deserves no redemption. And I wasn't going to give him everything he wanted." After my time off, I moved to an old apartment near work. Julia took time off to help. "Seriously, why didn't you just stay at my place? This building doesn't even have an elevator," she grumbled out of breath. I pressed my lips together. I don't want to see him again. And this place, it feels real, lived in. Since the last time I saw Jason, I'd drawn a hard line. But what I didn't expect was how he refused to let go. That once proud, composed Jason had become shameless, groveling. Even Julia seemed a little swayed. She hesitated before asking, "Isabel, what are your plans?" Her tone was off. "What are you trying to say?" I asked. Julia looked at me, eyes serious. "Nothing in life is perfect. Can you guarantee you'll meet someone better than Jason?" It was like a needle to the brain. Standing in that tiny, shabby rental, I suddenly felt how narrow my world was. Julia looked at me, filled with pity and compromise. She didn't want to keep talking, but couldn't stop. Her voice came at me from all directions. "Isabel, you guys already spent your best years together. You bought a home, built a life. You were one step away from a perfect ending. And now, because of one old flame, you're starting over? It's not the same for men and women. After a breakup, Jason's still a successful bachelor with a house and a car. But you'll struggle. Your career hasn't taken off. Those 5 years gone, wasted." Julia's voice cracked with emotion. "I'm scared you'll suffer. Heartbreak, then have to claw your way back. Scared you'll work 10 times harder and still end up with someone worse." My mind went blank. It felt like I was back in high school when I told Julia, "One day, when I get rich, I'll take care of you." 10 years later, I had nothing. Still poor, still naive. And now, Julia was the one worrying for me. "Isabel, every man has a first love he can't forget. It's always the one who cares the most that loses. All I want is for someone to treat you right. Jason's full of gil they'll treat you 1,000 times better now." Her words hit hard, hollowing me out. I bit my lip, struggling to breathe, but I knew it already. After all those years of school, I finally realized, in this world, making money is damn hard. Jason, with his engineering degree, had it way easier than me in the humanities. He paid most of our bills. The house, the car, all his money. It's true, when it came to material things, I couldn't act tough with Jason, not even in his desperate pursuit. I'm ordinary, worldly, poor, and painfully average. And precisely because I realized that it hurt so much, because I wasn't willing to accept it. Not at all. In this relationship, Jason was clearly the one in the wrong. Yet somehow, I was the one who still came up short. "Julia, if I forgive him just like that, I'll carry this resentment for the rest of my life." Dust danced in the sunset light. As I stared at that glow, tears slid uncontrollably from the corners of my eyes. Julia pulled me into a tight hug. "I understand. I really do. How could I not? But as adults, isn't the first thing we learn how to weigh pros and cons?" I didn't respond, just sat there in a swell of sorrow. Love shouldn't be a matter of profit and loss. But it's hard not to fall into that trap. We sat together in silence, watching the sun disappear and night fall. After a long pause, she whispered, "I'm getting engaged." I looked at her in surprise. "Where?" I asked, because she and Liu Cheng Swan had been in a long-distance relationship. Julia smiled faintly. "At his place." I paused. "When's the wedding?" "End of this year. So, we won't see each other much after that. I won't lie to you, Isabel. The person who stays with you the longest in life is yourself. Yes, nothing lasts forever. Everyone has their own path. And me? I'm Isabel, 27. Where is my path?" The answer came sooner than I expected. Just as I was starting to feel stuck in my routine, General Manager Anna called me into her office. "The company's opening a branch in the South. We're transferring some people from HQ. Do you have any thoughts?" Anna was my direct boss. 40-something, single, childless powerhouse. General Manager Anna. Don't be so quick to say no, she said. The work will be hard at first. Sure, but the position and salary will be better. We're grooming this team as future leaders, founding members of the new branch. You're at the age to fight for yourself. Why not give it a shot? Can I think about it and get back to you tomorrow? My thoughts were a whirlwind. Anna smiled. Of course, but that's not even the big news. She paused. I'm planning to recommend you as the manager. I panicked and waved it off without thinking. I'm not qualified. General Manager Anna. In early April, the rain in the southern city was long and gentle. Days went by without a glimpse of the sun. Isabel had been living there for exactly 1 month. She'd changed her number, moved into a small apartment near the office. Life no longer surged with drama. But, for the first time in a long while, she felt a quiet kind of peace. At 8 a.m., she walked into the office right on time, sipping warm soy milk while flipping through files. Intern Zhao Zhao knocked gently on her office door. Manager Isabel? There's a man at the front desk asking for you. Isabel froze. What's his name? He said, Jason. She said nothing, just closed her folder. Let him up. A few minutes later, Jason stood at her office door. He looked thinner than he had months ago. The tailored suit couldn't hide the exhaustion on his face. He held a letter in his hand, standing there like a lost traveler. Sit. Isabel's voice was cool. Jason hesitated, walked in, but didn't sit. I heard you got promoted. Running the new branch office here. News travels fast, she said flatly, like it had nothing to do with her. Jason's Adam's apple bobbed. He held out the letter. I'm not here to bother you, I just had some things I needed to write down. Isabel didn't take it. You can say them now. She looked at Jaime steady and unafraid. Jason lowered his head. His voice was hoarse. I'm not here to win you back. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Sorry? To who? She asked softly, her tone unreadable. Jason froze. To me? Or to the baby who never got to be born? The air stilled, like it was waiting for judgment. I dreamt of her, he said quietly. In the dream, she had your eyes. Soft, curly hair. She ran into my arms and said, Daddy, I finally found you. Isabel's nose stung. She bit her lip hard to keep from breaking. When I woke up, the sheets were soaked. Jason looked up. His eyes brimmed with regret. I'm not here to atone. I know no apology is enough. I just wanted you to know. I remember. And I always will. Isabel stared at him like she was looking at a stranger. She used to think Jason would never cry for her, never feel regret. But now, as this man stood before her with red-rimmed eyes, she felt peace. Jason, she said softly but firmly, you should go. I'm doing just fine. Her gaze was clear. I can live a good life on my own. Jason didn't move. It took him a long moment before he spoke. So, you really won't give me even the slightest chance? No, Isabel said with a gentle, distant smile. I've already walked too far. There's no going back. She stood, walked around the desk, and opened the door for him. Thanks for coming. Jason's eyes turned red again. He looked at her one last time but said nothing as she faded from view. After he left, Isabel returned to her desk. At some point, the rain had stopped. Sunlight broke through the clouds, casting a warm halo across her workspace. She slipped Jason's letter into a drawer unopened. It was a relic of the past, and Shishi was finally ready for the future. The new branch was short-staffed and chaotic. Tasks were overwhelming. But Isabel was always the first to arrive, and the last to leaven even. Shutting her computer until after the janitor clocked out, She no longer feared overtime, late nights, or difficult work. She welcomed every challenge with open arms, and for once, it all tasted sweet. She knew she had to be strong. When the company launched a new business initiative, she was appointed to lead a cross-departmental task force coordinating with finance, HR, and administration to develop a new product line. Meetings, negotiations, business trips, she poured all her energy into it. Manager Isabel. Tony Camel, one of her team members, poked his head in. Your presentation was spot on. The client said yes on the spot. Should we celebrate this afternoon? She adjusted her glasses and smiled. Don't expense the celebration. Save it for the year-end bonuses. You're too practical, Tony chuckled. But I like that. A local from the South. Tony was witty, easygoing, and serious when it mattered. People often said he reminded them of Jason, but not quite. Tony had none of Jason's arrogance. He never made anyone feel small. Isabel didn't have feelings for him. Not yet. If anything, she was guarded. She knew she wasn't ready for another relationship, but she admitted Tony's presence made life feel a little lighter. One night after working late, they walked together along a quiet street. Leaves rustled in the breeze. Isabel, Tony asked suddenly, do you really never want to get married? She paused, looking at a neon-lit convenience store in the distance. It's not that I don't want to, she said softly. I'm just scared. Scared of the wrong person? Scared of betting everything on someone again. She paused. Love is beautiful, but without financial stability or a sense of self-worth, it's far too easy to lose your balance. Tony nodded. I get it. Back home, Isabel made herself a cup of tea. She opened the curtains and looked out at the stars. Suddenly, she thought of Julia. It had been too long. She picked up her phone and texted, Free this weekend? I miss you. Julia replied almost instantly, I missed you so much. If you hadn't messaged me, I was coming down south to kidnap you. That silly message made Isabel laugh out loud. She leaned into the couch, thinking about those nights when they huddled in a rental apartment, making late-night snacks, painting their nails, talking about the future. Back then, they thought love was everything but real. Growing up, she now realized, comes from rebuilding yourself again and again after heartbreak. As night deepened, Isabel turned off her phone, pulled up a blanket, and drifted to sleep. She dreamt she was walking down a wide, sunlit street. Her shadow stretched long behind her, lonely but steady. A little girl reached up and took her hand. Mommy, let's never look back again, okay? She looked down, smiled, and nodded. Okay, we only move forward. Summer arrived earlier in the south. The air was thick and hot. Tree shadows flickering. The project at the branch office had reached a critical phase. Isabel moved non-stop between meetings and her desk. Her white blouse would soak and dry again and again. But she didn't feel tired. She felt grounded more than ever before. One night at 10 p.m., she was about to shut down her computer when her phone lit up. A strange number. She almost declined, but something about the digits made her pause. She answered. Isabel? A familiar voice said. It's Melatina. The air went still. She hadn't expected to hear from her again. Not since that day at the hospital. I don't mean to intrude. Latina's voice was soft but worn. I just wanted to say thank you. Isabel was quiet for a long time. Thank me for what? For leaving. Latina's voice was barely above a whisper. I thought I'd won, but I realized getting someone at the wrong time only brings deeper pain. Isabel said nothing. Latina continued. Jason and I are over. He tried to make it up to me, but his eyes were always looking elsewhere. I knew he was waiting for you. I never asked him to wait, Isabel said calmly. I know, Latina sighed. He's quiet now. Doesn't smile anymore. That kind of pain, I'd only ever seen it in your eyes. Isabel finally spoke. Latina, we're both women. I don't blame you. I just loved Jason too much back then. So did I. Latina's voice cracked. Too bad the ones we loved weren't mature enough to treasure us. There was a brief silence. Isabel, I hope you find happiness. Isabel closed her eyes. You too. After the call, she sat there for a long time. The thorn buried deep inside, her heart finally gone. 2 days later was the branch's anniversary celebration. As project lead, she would give the keynote. She wore a black, tailored gown. Her makeup was light, her presence elegant and assured. When she stepped under the spotlight to share the company's journey from scratch to success, the room erupted in applause. She used to think validation only came from being loved. Now she knew. True strength was standing alone in the spotlight and not being afraid. After the event, Tony raised his glass. You look amazing tonight. She smiled, took the drink. Thanks. Today's a win for all of us. Then may I have this dance, General of the Night? He said it half-jokingly. Isabel looked at him and suddenly remembered that interrupted wedding. Jason's dazed look as someone else found happiness. She shook her head gently. Maybe someday. For now, I still want to spend more time with myself. Tony wasn't disappointed. He smiled and raised his glass. To Yound, to the woman who finally learned to love herself. The wine was rich. The night was warm. Under the city's sea of lights, Isabel finally understood. Not every story needs a romantic ending. Some people come into your life to help you grow. She raised her glass and drank it all. Her smile clear and unwavering, a toast to the past, a greeting to the future. In early August, the southern cicadas buzzed endlessly, announcing the final stretch of summer. Isabel had just returned from a business trip. She kicked off her heels, stepping barefoot onto the cool tile. Every joint in her body sighed in relief. She stood in the kitchen for a moment, opened the rice cooker. Inside was warm rice she'd preset before leaving, along with a pot of mung bean soup. She sat alone at the dining table, eating while watching the twilight outside, and realized solitude no longer scared her. It had become a quiet kind of ritual. After her shower, she turned on the computer. It was time to write a letter long overdue to her mother. During her darkest days, she'd ignored every call. Her mom had worried, asked around, until someone finally told her she transferred to the South. She's doing well. Mom, I'm sorry for making you worry, Isabel typed, slowly and carefully. I'm doing really well now, fulfilled, and stronger than before. Thank you for not pressing me, for waiting patiently until I was ready to speak. She didn't send it immediately, just saved it in her drafts. Some things don't need to be said right away. They'll flow out when you're ready. The next morning, she arrived at work and found a bouquet of sunflowers on her desk, bright yellow and full of life. Beside them was a sticky note. General, here's your sunshine refill pack, Tony. Isabel smiled, but it didn't stir her heart. She had learned not to mistake someone's kindness for the entirety of life. Love could come slowly. If fate allowed, it would arrive. If not, she would still be the best version of herself, with dignity, without compromise. That afternoon, she spoke at a career seminar at a nearby university. Looking out at the fresh young faces, she remembered her own postgrad days, so full of dreams and certainty. I know many of you feel lost right now. Isabel's clear voice filled the lecture hall. You're afraid of choosing the wrong major, the wrong job, falling for the wrong person. But remember, every stumble will one day become a reminder with meaning. I used to think love was the most important part of life, but I've learned what you truly can't afford to lose is your confidence in yourself. A girl raised her hand. Are you happy now? Isabel blinked, then smiled. I'm working on becoming someone who deserves happiness. After the talk, the school gave her a campus tour. She walked beneath tree-lined paths, a breeze brushing her hair. Sunlight filtering through the leaves it felt like a soft memory. That night, she reopened her draft sand, sent the letter to her mother. She added one more line. Mom, if you want to, come visit me in the South. A week later, her mother came. Her hair had grayed, but she looked energetic. When she saw her daughter, tears welled in her eyes. You've lost weight, she said, but your eyes are bright. Isabel hugged her. Mom, I've made up my mind. I'm applying to grad school. You want to study again? Her mom's surprise was tinged with concern. Yes, I'll work and study at the same time. I spent too many years trapped in a relationship, thinking I needed someone to live well. Now, I want to prove even on my own. I can shine. Her mother nodded, eyes glistening. I support you. That night, they sat on the balcony, peeling sunflower seeds, chatting like they used to in their hometown courtyard. The air was damp. Street vendors' calls echoed in the distance. Life was simple, but safe. Before bed, Isabel stood by the window. Her phone lit up a message from Tony. Camping next weekend? Want to come? We'll have barbecue, a bonfire, and stars. She didn't reply right away, just gently closed the window. True change isn't about forgetting the past. It's about remembering and not hurting anymore. The breeze stirred the curtain, bringing in the cool hush of late summer. Isabel whispered to herself, "Good night, old me." Then she turned off the lights and went to sleep. In her dreams, there were mountains, there was water, and there was a sky full of stars.